So the question that was sent to us was, what's a time where we called upon the name of Jesus and saw his power come and meet us and do something that was impossible? And I'm going to go ahead and share a couple stories with you. When I was young, I remember there was a time when I was crying out to God. I was really experiencing the loss of not having a father in my life. And I remember really being almost like angry about this. And supernaturally, what happened was I was walking out of my house and I was angry, I was feeling rebellious, and the power of the Lord came on me so strong, it swept me back onto my bed, where God came and met me in a profound way and began to just wash over me with his presence. And he began to just tell me over and over again, I'm your father and I love you. I'm your father and I loved you. And he held me down in that place. It was difficult to think I could even get up, or I even remember trying, but God's presence and his glory was so strong that I just laid there in the fathering of God and his presence and in his love and his compassion for me. And I laid there for a couple hours just weeping with my father and understanding maybe for the first time that God was truly my father. I had this perfect father in heaven who loved me, who adopted me, who had chosen me. And it really met me in a time of crisis when I was calling out to him, wishing I had a better earthly father in my life. And so that's one time where the Lord really came and met me when I called out upon the name of Jesus. Another time I love to share is it was summer, it was hot. Cindy and I were running this children's ministry called God Print, and middle of July, like the hottest part of the year almost. And we'd come home every day, and of course, we were out and about in this kids ministry doing like classes outside, and we're sweaty and we're grimy, and we so looked forward to the oasis of our home, of coming home to that cool air conditioning and just relaxing after a hard day of good ministry. Well, right in the middle of that time, our air conditioning went out. And Cindy and I were like, what are we going to do? It is so hot and miserable. And I remember Cindy and I talking, and we said, we need to teach our kids to call out to God in time of need. And so I remember sitting with our children in our living room, and we just asked God, will you provide the money for an air conditioning? We didn't have the money. We had no way to accomplish this on our own. And we called out to God, and we said, God, will you come? Jesus, will you come and meet our need? Will you come and provide for us? And really, honestly, to all of our shock, the next day in the mail, we got a check for exactly the amount we needed to replace our air conditioning. Now, how God orchestrates all of that is beyond me. But just to say that Jesus met us. He did. We had no way. It was impossible for us at that time in our financial situation to buy an air conditioning and replace this. And our kids got to see the miraculous working God and how he met the needs of our family in a profound way. I guess I'll give one more, a third one, just that's more church related or Numa related. But as many of you know, God called Cindy and I to plant a church here in Spokane and gathered a team around us to do that. And, there was a lot of need. There was a lot of things that we were like, we have no idea how this is going to happen, but we know God has called us. We need to go. We need to be obedient. And what was interesting is by faith, Cindy quit her job, handed her notice, and said, we're going to Spokane. This is the Lord. And we didn't know how he was going to provide, because, of course, I was leaving a paid ministry position to be a church planter, which isn't a position that's usually paid at all. And so we both were giving up our jobs to be obedient to God. And I remember us crying out to God and calling on the name of Jesus and saying, God, will you meet us? We're taking this step of faith. Will you provide? And God did. We were driving back from family camp, where the Lord had given us significant prophetic words about provision and us, our calling to Spokane. And Cindy found a job that was listed in the best school district. She's a teacher, third grade teacher, in the best school district in the area, a high-paying job that was double the salary she had before. And she applied for it, and she was like the 40th or 50th applicant. So she was at the bottom of the pile, really, in many respects. But it turned out that somebody else knew the principal that Cindy knew and just put a word in for her, and her resume ended up at the top of the pile. The Lord gave her a job that seemed impossible to get with all the applicants that were there. And she started out our very first season in Spokane. She started out with a well-paying job, actually better than what she had given up and sacrificed. So Jesus met us in a profound way in our financial situation and allowing us to be released to plant this church, this beautiful church He's planted here called Numa Church. Thank you.